Hi, everyone. We just did our first live podcast at Awaken Haunted Attraction this past Saturday, September 13th, 2025. And what an amazing night. For everyone who came out to support our show, thank you so very much. Your support means everything to us. Now, after a year and a half of solid work, we are taking a much needed 2-week break. But as promised, I'm still going to deliver content for you on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until we return. So please enjoy some of my favorite past shows. Again, thank you so much for listening. We will see you with new content in 2 weeks. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Malice in the Mitten. I'm your host, Tracy Preston, along with my bestie, Christine Mulligan. Hey, Christine.
Hey, Trace. Back for another one.
This is Season 2, Episode 6, Raymond, Fernandez, and Martha Beck, a.k.a. the Lonely Hearts Killers. You ever heard of this one? This is an old one.
No, but right off the bat, I'm questioning Lonely Hearts Killers. There's a lot of in there. Are we going to be talking about snakes? It was a silly question, I know. So, what's going on? I've never heard of this.
Okay. Let's see if I can focus every time I have an S sound. Now I feel like I'm a snake.
No, it's probably just me.
Okay, all right.
I have no idea. I've never heard of the AKA the Lonely Hearts Killers.
So where do you turn when you are lonely and want to meet someone? Whether you're looking for a companion, a mate, a date, or even marriage, there are plethoras of options out there on the internet. Some require a fee to unlock pictures, biographies, and contact information. Some are even free or free to get started. I've never used a dating app, but I know a lot of people who have. Some have found exactly what they were looking for, whether it was just to have someone to go to the movies with, or for some, they have even found true love in marriage. Whether you're heterosexual, gay, bisexual, or lesbian, all of the following sites are listed among the most reputable. eHarmony for marriage seekers, Match.com for dating, Our Time and Silver Singles for people over 50, OkCupid, free dating, Bumble for men seeking women, Hinge for women seeking men, Her for queer women, JDate for Jewish daters. But before all the electronic sites, like the ones I just mentioned, personal ads were placed in local newspapers dating all the way back to the late 1600s. You could place an ad looking for marriage in places such as France, India, London, and let's not leave out the United States of America.
Those ads were big back in the day.
Yeah.
It was just to read, even if you weren't interested in dating, just to go through them and read them was like entertainment some night.
I bet.
I mean, at least in New York, the things that people would put in those ads, you're like, are they allowed to do this? Can they say this in the newspapers? It was crazy.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. There's no oversight. You pay for it, it gets published.
Yeah, that's how it was.
So back in the day, such personal ads were called matrimonial ads. Lonely, single, and widowed men and women would place ads looking for someone to spend the rest of their lives with. There were even correspondence clubs such as the Lonely Hearts Club. If you paid like a quarter, you would receive a list of addresses of men and women that you could write to and kind of see what shakes out with it. There was even basically a personal ads booklet that you would receive if you subscribed. It was chock full of lonely people looking for someone to spend the rest of their lives with, if you fit the bill. Some older women, many of whom were widowed, were looking for love and companionship, while younger ladies were looking for financial stability.
Some of them were entertaining, but some of them were the equivalent of the dark web stuff now. Like some of them were cryptic, some of them were scammy. So are you going to get into all the scammy dark side of all that? Because they started making rules. We just joked about how you could put anything in as long as you pay for it. And that's how it seemed at first. But I do remember as I got older, probably the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember it getting more strict about what you could put in the newspaper. And then they started doing the same thing like online. And I think one may have influenced the other. But do you remember like Craigslist?
Yeah.
Years ago, like how that ad thing, then people started like scamming people on there and
exactly.
And all that. Like,
yeah, exactly. But the time period that I'm talking about is in the mid-1940s.
Oh, wow.
What they would put in the ad, like I'm a man of means and I would like a woman of means and like just certain things, or like I would be a good husband, but like straight up, this is what these people wanted. They were lonely. They wanted to be married. And it's crazy, like actual booklets full of people and their little clips of what they want to say, and then their P.O. box.
Okay.
A whole book.
Yeah. So this is like the early age scams.
Yeah, hence the Lonely Hearts in the title. Yeah. So I don't want to get too far into it. So anyway, there was an advertisement from the Lonely Hearts booklet, and it read, quote, "Let us arrange a romantic correspondence for you. Meet your sweetheart through the foremost high-class social correspondence club in the world. A club for refined, lonely people, members everywhere, strictly confidential, efficient, and dignified service. We have made thousands of lonely people happy. Why not you? Write today if sincere. I have a sweetheart for you." No, you didn't vet anybody.
No, I guess at this time, definitely, as if you paid for it, they put it in there.
Exactly. An example of a subscriber for such an ad from the Lonely Hearts Killer's book, written by Tobin T. Buch. I think that's how you say it, Buhk. Quote, "We are twin sisters living out in the country. We have never had a fellow and have no money. We are 43 years of age and are sending you a quarter. All the money we have in the world. Please send us lots of men to write to. We want to get married awful much."
Okay, and we're also saying like 1600. When are we again? What's this time?
We're in the mid-1940s. When I said the 1600s, that's as far back as these matrimonial ads were in papers.
Oh, okay.
It dated all the way back then.
1940s. Well, 25 cents was a lot of money back in 1940. Some of these women were coming out of pocket, forgive the pun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with so many men and women putting themselves out there, like the quote I just read to you, it's a strong possibility that you will attract all kinds of people, including ones that are not looking to marry you. They're looking to take advantage of you, swindle you, or even worse, murder you. The story I'm going to tell you about today is of a man who in the mid through late 1940s made a living off such correspondence clubs, and his name is Raymond Martinez Fernandez. Now, before we dive into the details, let's learn a little bit more about who Raymond was. Per Wikipedia, Raymond Martinez Fernandez was born on December 17, 1914, to Spanish parents in the territory of Hawaii. From Hawaii, his family then ended up moving to Bridgeport, Connecticut. When Raymond was a teenager, he moved to Spain, where he worked on his uncle's farm. He ended up marrying a local woman with whom he had 4 children. Now, instead of getting a divorce, Raymond just abandoned his family when he left to go fight in World War II, right? So he served on the Spanish Merchant Navy and also worked for the British intelligence. When he boarded a ship that was heading to the United States, a steel hatch fell on him, which fractured his skull, causing a frontal lobe injury. Now, if you heard the podcast we did on Andrew Kehoe, he also had a traumatic brain injury when he fell on his head. And we all know what that did to him and the devastation he caused.
That's wild that we're going to do a story right after the same thing happened with that whole conversation. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Thank you. All right. So now we know that the frontal lobe injuries affect a person's personality. And this type of injury can also affect a person's ability to understand good and bad choices, along with the consequences of those decisions. This type of injury can cause an increase in irritability, change in mood and behavior, increases risk-taking behaviors, increases impulsivity, and decreases a person's ability to self-control.
We nailed all that, but we didn't quite say it as eloquently as that in our last discussion.
Yeah, but the point was made.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Sure. All right. So Raymond was hospitalized for his head injury, and when he was released, he had stolen some clothing from which he was arrested for. And get this, he was sent to prison for a year. Isn't that crazy?
Oh. Isn't that funny? Went to prison for a year for stealing some clothes.
Yeah. It was while he was in prison that his cellmate educated Raymond on voodoo and black magic. And he believed it was his knowledge of voodoo and black magic that filled him with a charm that women just could not resist.
They couldn't resist. All right, so you're setting him up to be like a Rico Suave kind of character. So he had a swerve about him. So he was one of those, what do they call him? What's his
Suave,
name?
Rico Suave.
Not
Rico.
Rico Suave. The other guy. The guy that was like oh, damn it.
Like how long ago? So I know.
You know, like conquistador days. What's his name? Casanova. Okay, there we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I got it.
Get it together, woman.
All right, so they couldn't resist him. So you're setting him up to be like, Rico Suave or like a Casanova type.
Yes, he was definitely a Casanova. After his prison term had ended, Raymond moved to New York City, where he had a dingy little apartment on Manhattan's Upper West Side. Like so many lonely hearts, he paid the fee to join the correspondence clubs. Raymond started writing and receiving a hefty amount of letters. He was very specific with the type of woman that he was targeting. He wasn't interested in the young single women looking for a husband that could provide financial stability for them. Oh, no. He was more interested in the older women, the widowed women, the overweight women, unattractive women, women who had money in the bank, owned a home, and or owned a car. That was his target. And oh boy, did he find his fair share of them. After Raymond obtained the information that would place these women in his possibilities list, he would also request that they send him a photo of themselves. If they ticked all the right boxes, he would arrange to meet up with them. Once he was face to face with these women, he would give them all of the attention, making sure that they felt beautiful, sexy, and wanted in every way. He would do whatever it took to woo them. Once he had them where he wanted them, he would get them to cash in and hand over their savings and basically anything he asked them for. He would love them, rob them, leave them, and move on to the next lonely heart.
Oh, yeah. So definitely one of the premier Casanova types.
Yep.
Con man to boot.
Yeah, and the funny thing is he's like, oh, it's the voodoo and this and that gives me this charm. No, dude, you're picking on women who never get shown attention, and you're fawning them, because he was a good-looking guy. He was like 6 feet tall, kind of slender build. Now, granted, he was kind of balding, so he kind of wore a toupee. But I think I wonder if that accident that he had anything to do with that.
Oh, yeah, the quintessential Casanova, or Consanova, if you will.
Mm-mm. Exactly. So Raymond received a correspondence from a Martha Beck. She ticked all the boxes. She was single, lonely, overweight, and his next target. Martha was living in Pensacola, Florida, and soon Raymond would make his way south from New York to meet up with her. But first, he needed more money for the trip, and that required another hustle. Next on his list of potential victims was Jane Wilson Thompson. She, like the others, was quite plain and very lonely. She was working as a hospital dietitian living with her mother. Her husband was in the mental institution. Raymond had Jane believing that he had completely fallen in love with her and wanted to be with her every moment. He just couldn't leave her side, so he just moved right in with her. They had, quote, fallen in love, and Raymond wanted to take her to Spain. What lonely woman wouldn't want to go to Spain with her lover? It was September 1947 when the two of them packed their bags and left for their new adventure together. Did I forget to mention that Raymond also convinced Jane to make him her sole beneficiary before they left? Well, she did it. And by December of 1947, Raymond was back in New York City. He had told Jane's mother that her daughter had died in a train crash in Spain. It wasn't long before Raymond cashed in on the life insurance policy. He was now $450 richer. Now, Christine, I don't want you to look it up, but can you figure out what $450 in 1947 is in today's money? I was shocked.
Probably $4 million.
$450 in 1947 equals $6,327.20 in today's money.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's way lower than I thought it would be.
Really?
I said $4 million.
$4 million.
Yeah, $400 back in 1940. I feel like it's close to $4 million now. Put it this way. Just before I was born, my parents bought a car for like $2,000, brand new off the lot. Granted, it wasn't a luxury car. It was a car. It was a fully functioning leather interior car for $2,000.
That's crazy.
And you can't get a car now for less than $25,000.
You can't even get a used old ass car for that money, Christine.
Exactly. I'm saying, but like Kias and stuff. No offense to anybody, no offense to Kia, the brand, but that's their thing, right? I assume. I don't know. I don't personally have a Kia, but Kia's like that's their thing, is the affordable luxury car, right? So don't they go for like anywhere from? I think their lowest one is $24,000, and maybe I know they go up high because they have the bigger models, the SUVs, all that. But their low end model, the affordable cars. That's why Kia. At least that was their shtick when they first came on the market.
Yeah, like Kia and Hyundai.
1990s, right?
Yeah.
The late 90s. That's when they were coming out, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not a Kia expert. What I'm saying is they came out with affordable cars and them and Saturns, remember? And you couldn't get them for less than 20-something thousand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And usually the nicer ones with leather interior and all that, you're still looking at $38,000.
Yeah.
For a car that
or more.
In 1970 cost $2,000.
Yeah, that's bananas.
So what is that? 1,000% markup.
Girl, don't make me do math.
Exactly. That's over 1,000% markup to go from 2,000 to 20,000. Okay, maybe not. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. It's ridiculous.
Just use the calculator.
I just blow it up out of proportion because that's one of the biggest things right now in America, at least. And I feel like all over the world because, I have a few people that I know abroad, across the pond, and even with them, the money doesn't go as far as it used to. Nowhere near.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so out of whack. So for you to tell me that it's only $6,000, that's barely.
I still thought it was a lot of money because I'm sure gas was maybe pennies, 10 cents. I didn't look that up, so don't stick me to that. Now, with a wad of cash in his pocket, he made a quick plan to head to Pensacola to meet that Martha. But before I get into all that, let's learn a little bit about Raymond's next hit. Per Wikipedia, Martha Beck was born Martha Jewel Seabrook on May 9th, 1920 in Milton, Florida. Martha was always an overweight child and continued to be overweight her entire life. She hit puberty much earlier than most girls her age, and soon she would claim that her brother had raped her. Her mother commenced beating her about it and told her that it was all her fault. I can't even understand that. That's just awful.
Yeah, well, we're talking 1940s.
Yeah.
Women had no rights. Forget about little girls.
Oh my God, it just makes me ill. All right, so as a teenager, Martha ran away and joined a traveling circus. Now, I don't know exactly what she did in that circus. I couldn't find that, but here's an interesting thing. Truman Capote was a 10-year-old boy and was also touring with the same circus when Martha was touring with the circus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. There was a book published by Capote's childhood friend in 2020 called Furious Hours by Harper Lee. And in this book, he confirmed that Capote was in the circus. So it wasn't just like some yakety yak about it. Like this guy wrote about it, his best friend.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'm not sure how long it was that Martha toured with the circus, but she ended up walking away from that and then ended up going to nursing school where she received her RN. Martha was having a difficult time getting a job, though, due to her weight. Now, that makes me insane. But again, like you said, it was the 1940s. Maybe she didn't look that great in a skirt.
Yeah, exactly. Most men were pigs back then.
Exactly. Martha did find a job working for an undertaker preparing female bodies for their burial. But it wasn't long before she quit that job, which I don't blame her, and headed to California where she joined the United States Army as a nurse. And remember, this is like post-World War II era, right? Because that was in 44, I think. Was that in 44?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, World War II. While in California, Martha had a one-night stand, and the next thing she knew, she was pregnant. Oops. However, the father of the baby wanted nothing to do with her or the baby. Single and pregnant, Martha returned home once again to live with her mother. But what was she going to say? She had to come up with something. I mean, this is the 1940s, so she spun a tale that her baby's father was killed during the war. The local newspaper even published a story, so the social stigma of being an unwed mother was not an issue that she would have to deal with. Martha had a baby girl, and shortly thereafter, she became pregnant again, this time by a man who was a local bus driver in her hometown, Pensacola. His name was Alfred Beck. He stepped up to the plate and did the honorable thing and married Martha. But that was a short-lived marriage, which lasted approximately 6 months. Now Martha was yet again a single mother of a daughter and a son. She was once again unemployed, staying home to take care of her children under her mother's roof. Martha was very lonely. She would escape into romance magazines and novels, dreaming of a love that she desired so badly. Finally, in 1946, Martha landed a nursing job at a Pensacola hospital for children. In 1947, at the age of 27, Martha joined the ranks of many and paid to place her ad in the Lonely Hearts magazine. And this is when Raymond and Martha began their correspondence. Okay, so now I'm going to now that we've talked about both of them, now I'm going to talk about how they kind of came together. So picking up where I left off, Raymond headed down to Florida to land his hooks in Martha. Now we know Martha was a hefty girl, but she was also quite tall. She was 6 feet tall and weighed about 200 pounds. So she would carry 200 pounds a hell of a lot differently than someone my height, 5'2". Total difference there.
Yeah.
They make it sound like she was just this huge obese woman. I mean, she didn't look that bad because she was tall. Granted, chunky, but whatever.
It wasn't really because she was fat. Trying to say by hefty, they're not saying hefty as in fat. They're saying hefty as in tall and statuesque.
No, but that was my word. Like, she was definitely chunky, but she wasn't, like, when you hear 200-300 pounds, you're thinking, at least in my brain, I'm thinking a lot heavier than how she carried it. Let's put it that way.
When you hear 200 pounds, people think way bigger than 200 pounds actually is.
Yeah. Raymond used his usual tactics on her, and as usual, his charms had her under his spell. Martha was completely smitten. She had never received so many compliments or made to feel so amazing. Apparently, Raymond was also quite the lover, but he had to get back to New York. Martha had a taste of the Spaniard lover, and she was not going to let him get away so easily.
Martha was hooked.
She was hooked, so Casanova all the way. But think about it, just like the other women, she's never had a man adore her, pour attention all over her, make her feel special, make her feel like she's the only woman in the world. Like, if you've never felt that before from anybody, and people make fun of you or whatever, and then you've got, a decent looking guy like just telling you you're so beautiful.
Yeah, because he's a Casanova. He's a con man.
He is, but you can see how they would fall for it.
Yeah, totally. Like, I don't fault her at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
You're going to tell me some worse stuff, so.
It's going to start getting bumpy in a few. So Martha took her 2 children and headed to New York. She was serious. She was going for it. So she landed on Raymond's doorstep, and when he answered, she exclaimed, "Sugar!" To Martha, Raymond was a perfect lover, and she was never going to leave him. But Raymond was quite adamant that he did not want to be a father or do the whole family thing. He had abandoned his wife and 4 children in Spain, and he was not about to take care of someone else's children. So Martha had quickly came up with a plan. She took her daughter, Sue, who was just 4 years old, and her son, Anthony, who was only 2 years old, and quickly left Raymond's apartment. In just a couple of hours, Martha was back rapping on Raymond's door. To his surprise, the children were not by her side. She said, quote, "I left the kids at the Salvation Army. They'll never find me. Kiss me, darling. We're alone." End quote. One thing that Martha and Raymond had was amazing sex. She doted all over him, and this was something that he absolutely enjoyed. Of course he did.
That's all I'm going to say right now is,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now that Martha made it clear that she was sticking with him, Raymond clued her in on his scamming of lonely-hearted women. They formulated the plan that he would court and marry anyone if he had to get their money, and Martha would always be with him, which would make the woman feel more comfortable as another woman would be there with them, right? Because, some guy's coming to meet you and he's bringing a sister. Kind of let your guard down a little bit. That was the deal. Take it or leave it. Well, Martha took it.
Martha basically said to herself and then said to Ring that, okay, I will fawn all over you forever because you're all that in a bag of chips, and I will actually help you con other women.
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
That is exactly what I'm telling you. She didn't care. She went and ditched her kids.
I know. I can't. I'm not even going to address that because I'm just like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They were better off.
Like, okay.
Yeah, they're better off. They're better off once you hear what happens. All right, so it's now 1948. Martha and Raymond have traveled to Little Rock, Arkansas, where the courting of Myrtle Young was in full swing. She was 40 years old, a lonely heart, with a substantial amount of money in the bank. And before long, she and Raymond were engaged to be married. As soon as Raymond was able to swindle Myrtle out of her money, and before the pair hurried off to Little Rock, Myrtle suffered blows to the head with a hammer. Later, she died of a cerebral hemorrhage.
So
we're amping it up.
Okay.
We are amping it up. So remember, this is actually number 2. So, he married the one girl, took her to Spain, and she never came back. He did that on his own. But I don't know if it's a combination of these two that make things kind of get more out of control, or if she just was in it because he was in it. I don't know. Traumatic brain injury. Remember, he's got that too.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Excuses at this point.
All right. So Martha did not like watching Raymond shower these women with affection. This was her man. She loved him, and in her mind, he loved her just as much. Once Myrtle was out of the way, Martha would take anything of that woman's that she wanted. And she especially liked to take things like jewelry. She had a lot of jewelry. That's something I read about a lot, is lots and lots of rings, lots of fancy clothes. The couple then moved on to Springfield, Vermont. The next woman was Irene de la Pointe. She was 39 years old, blonde, and very attractive. Irene owned some property, and Raymond was drooling over swindling her out of her land. But there was a bit of an issue with this one. Martha was extremely jealous. She couldn't handle watching Raymond swooning all over her, kissing her, showering her with affection. When she had the opportunity, Martha spoiled the plan by telling Irene what Raymond's intentions were. Well, that was all Irene had to hear. She quickly backed away from the two of them. Needless to say, Ray was super pissed and sent Martha away from him. She went to stay with her sister in North Carolina, but she couldn't stay away from Ray very long. She quickly came back to the apartment in New York, and in order to get back into Ray's good graces, she promised that she would never interfere again. So this lady de la Pointe does not know how lucky she was.
Yeah, I imagine. So head injury and Miss Delulu. What do they get off to next?
Okay. So it was on to the next mark. A woman by the name of Janet Fay. She lived in Albany, New York, and Ray figured that she had approximately $7,000. All right, Christine, what do you think $7,000 equals in today's money?
Okay, well, I'm going to say $7 million, but you're going to tell me some stupid crap like $14,000.
Are you ready for this one?
What?
91,072.
Okay, well, that's a little bit more inflation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a big nut that Janet had.
Still not nearly as much as I would imagine. But yeah, okay.
So she claims she was 40 years old and had a toned body, but when Ray and Martha were face to face with her, they figured she was closer to 60 and quite overweight. But one thing she didn't lie about was her money. Ray was not about to miss out on this payload. A swindle this large could take some time. A few weeks had gone by, and Ray had finally convinced Janet that she should give the money to Ray for safekeeping, all under the ruse that they were to be married. Believe it or not, she frickin' did it. She wrote out 2 checks to Ray. They totaled $6,900. So keeping $100 in the bank, she gave him everything. They weren't even married.
Oh my God. I said, she's just a silly, silly woman. But then again, I mean, women were trusting back then. Obviously. Far too trusting, especially of a Casanova type. I mean, he knew just what to say. He knew how to prey on her weaknesses.
But the crazy thing is it's like they never paused for a minute. That's what's crazy. I'm going to give you all my money. We have only known each other for a few weeks.
All right, but we're talking about the 1940s. That was a time where women were raised, born, and bred to do what they're told by men.
That's true.
Ugh.
It makes me, it just drives, I know, it makes me nuts.
This whole story, all I got to say, Trey, this is my response to everything. Ugh. Ugh.
Okay. All right. So with the checks burning a hole in his pocket, now that he had what he came for, it was time to move on without her. With the ruse of making out wedding announcements, Ray pulled out a couple of pieces of paper and had Janet write the word surprise, dead center, real big at the top of the paper. And then he had her sign the bottom of it. Again, I can't believe these women do this kind of thing. This was to be their wedding announcement. So she's signing a blank piece of paper. And he's telling her this is going to be a wedding announcement. That's nuts. Now,
oh my God. I have a feeling you're going to tell me it's like the deed to her house or something.
No.
Okay. What was it?
All right. I'm going to get there. So now Ray, Martha, and Janet, they all packed it up. They hit the road and they were going to go to this place. So Raymond and Martha had rented like a house in Queens, like this temporary place, pre-thought, premeditated. Now that they had the money, it was time to get rid of Janet. After getting settled in the rental, Martha came behind Janet and whacked her in the head with a hammer. And then Ray came up behind her and finished her off by strangling her with a scarf.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
This Janet, she had nobody in her life that would have been looking for her?
There were a handful of people, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. I don't have a bunch, but I'll tell you something.
All right.
Okay, so while Janet's body was still warm and flexible, Ray and Martha folded her body into a jackknife position so that they could stuff her into one of those large chests. You know, like those old big clothing chests?
Yeah, like the steamer chest.
Yeah, like a big one. Boom. And they couldn't get her in it.
Ugh.
And no matter how they pushed, no matter how they shoved, no matter how they hit, and they hit. And they were hitting her with a hammer because she had a lot of trauma on her head. I mean, remember, she did get a whack on the head, but then she was strangled, but then just to get her in this box. It was just brutal. Just horribly brutal. They finally decided that they could bury Janet in the basement after digging a large hole in the cellar's floor. So they pulled Janet from the trunk and put her into the freshly dug grave in the basement. They covered her with sand and then poured 25 pounds of wet cement over her and smoothed it over real good so it looked like just a regular old patch in the floor. Once they were satisfied with how dry the cement was, they returned the rental keys to the landlord of the house and told him that they decided not to stay after all. Isn't that crazy?
That is bananas. So they literally just rented a burial site.
Yep. Once they knew they had that money from this woman, they set up this rental house because that's where they were going to get rid of her.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened?
So then they removed the surprise from the top of the fake wedding invitation and used a typewriter and sent out a notice to Janet's relatives that the marriage had already occurred. But it was the stepdaughter of Janet's that went to the police because, for one, this wasn't something that Janet would do, and two, Janet could not type. And this is when the investigation on Raymond and Martha started kicking in gear. Because this stepdaughter, didn't put it in here, but the stepdaughter had met these people, right? Because they both came, they were courting Janet, they were there for a few weeks. So in that time period, she had, some people over the house because they had asked her, do you know what they look like? And she's like, yes. And of course that his sister didn't like me because she was young and pretty and,
right.
all that kind of stuff. The pair had their next victim in their sights already. So they got in the car and started on their journey to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, I bet you guys were all wondering when the heck I was going to get to the mitten, weren't ya?
Actually, I totally forgot about that part. We didn't talk about Michigan at all so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
right.
Here we are. We're finally in Michigan.
We're finally in the mitten because remember, all crimes will happen here.
Yeah.
Or some part of crime.
I just wasn't catching on. I didn't catch on so far.
See? So you're trained to already think, hey, every story's Michigan, but I gotcha.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So as with the others, Ray had the Next Lonely Heart queued up, and her name was Delphine Downing. And I love that name, Delphine. I think that's really cool. She was 28 years old. She was a widow, and she had a 2-year-old daughter named Raynell. She had a home and a car and money from the death benefit of her husband, and he had died in the war. Per his usual MO, Ray had sweet-talked Delphine into selling her home and turning in any of all of her assets into cash and handed over to Ray. And one day, when Ray went out to run some errands, and upon his return, he was wearing a brand new toupee, which cost $104. And that was a huge amount of money. And I won't ask you, I'm just going to tell you, $104 in today's money is $1,324. That's a lot for a rug. That's a top dollar rug.
Yeah, not really. I think that's what they go for now.
Really?
I would think so. Yeah, like a really good, hairpiece, I would think, yeah, that tracks.
All right. So Delphine started to figure out that something really was wrong here. And when Martha picked up on how Delphine was feeling, she made Delphine ingest a large amount of sleeping pills. Perhaps Martha decided to kill Delphine with the sleeping pills because Raynell was still in the house. But when it was taking too long for her to die, Ray took out a handgun and shot her point blank in the middle of her forehead. Now, as you can imagine, Raynell started crying and screaming for her mother. They couldn't get her to stop crying, and it was decided that Raynell had to die as well. Ray wanted to smother the child with a pillow, but with Martha's nursing background, she knew that it would take too long for the child to die and that it would be, quote, more humane to drown her.
Oh my God, this woman.
I know, she's horrible.
Oh,
It's just bananas.
I can't even take some of these people we talk about, Trace. I can't take them.
I know. All right, so just as they did with Janet, they decided a burial in the basement was where they would dispose of Delphine and Raynell. While digging into the basement floor in preparation for the makeshift graves, they hit water, right? Because the water table was kind of high. So utilizing a big water basin, Martha would fill it with the muddy water and dump it so that they could make room for, so that Delphine's body could fit in there. They had taken all of her clothes off except for her underwear, and I don't understand that. Just like Janet, she was folded up in a jackknife position. They lowered her lifeless body into the watery grave and then covered her with cement. With the water basin still full of muddy water, Martha then took Raynell, holding her upside down by her ankles, and lowered her head down into the muddy water until she stopped fighting and became limp. Martha and Ray folded up Raynell's body, wrapped her in a blanket, stuffed her into a box, and then bound that box with wire to keep it shut.
Oh my God.
She was a mother. She had 2 kids.
Well, she was a mother that we never heard about what actually happened to our kids.
She took him to the Salvation. She dumped him off at the Salvation Army. Stop and drop. Bye.
Yeah, well, that's what she said.
True.
I mean, none of your research showed anything else.
True.
So they were either 2 orphan kids or they were 2 kids. Where were they again? In New York? So maybe they were in the Hudson River. 2 kids in the Hudson River for all we know.
Right.
And maybe that's why she wanted to drown this little girl, because she was like, that happened pretty quick.
Yeah, this will work. There's a lot less.
Been here, done that. Psychopath.
Only takes a couple minutes. Yeah.
I can't even with these people, Trace.
I know. I know. All right. So I know.
That's all I got for this whole episode. Ugh.
It's a bad one. All right. So now that they had what they came for, and the bodies of Delphine and Raynell were disposed of, Martha and Ray started gathering up all their belongings to make their getaway, right? They got to move on to the next one. But the detectives that had been working the case since Janet, remember her stepdaughter called, said, no, this isn't right. Something's up with this couple, this and that. They'd been on their trail. They've been tracking them. They've been watching them. They've been, finding all the letters and really figuring out. It's pretty great detective work for the New York guys. While the pair were gathering up their belongings, detectives stormed in and immediately placed them under arrest. The detectives have found the familiar wet cement in the basement. They dug through the cement and discovered Delphine's body, but they could not find Raynell. So while Ray was out at the police station, police were pushing him to tell him, where is Raynell's body? Finally, he hung his head low and he told them where they could find Raynell. And they couldn't believe that a child was in this tiny box hidden in the basement. They had never even noticed it.
Oh my goodness. Ugh. That's all I have to say.
The New York detectives were able to convince the police in Grand Rapids to allow them to extradite Ray and Martha to New York, as Michigan does not have the death penalty. So remember we talked about that before, Christine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does New York have the death penalty now?
Yes,
I think
they do.
I know.
I'll tell you more about that in a sec.
Okay.
So they were extradited to New York. So they're like, yeah, take them because these people are horrible. What they've done here, yeah, take them because otherwise we'll just be paying for them the rest of their life. So they were extradited to New York where they both stood trial for their horrific crimes. But again, they can only convict them of what happened up there, right?
They couldn't. I thought they found the other wet cement, and that's why they noticed the same wet cement.
Right, but one was in New York, one was in Queens, and then Raynell and her mother were in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Right, so wouldn't they try them for all of that?
Well, the deal was...
The New York one?
Yeah, the deal was, listen, Michigan doesn't have the death penalty. So do we want to try these people here? Because we got dead women over here. And our state has the death penalty. What do you say?
I get it. Okay.
Yeah. So they just wanted these people dead. Let's do it. We're going to take them to New York.
So they're found guilty of Jeanette's murder.
Yeah, they're found guilty. I mean, they know they've done all of them, but yeah, so it was proven in a court of law that they were guilty. They killed Janet, and they both received the death penalty for their crimes. Now, of course, they filed appeals. They did the whole 9 yards, but they lost everything. Every time they tried, they lost it. So Ray and Martha were awaiting their electrocutions, and they were imprisoned at Sing Sing Correctional Facility, and that's in Ossining, New York. Have you ever heard of that place?
Yeah, I've been there. My brother was there for a bit.
Okay. All right. So Sing Sing in New York. And their death row wasn't a long wait time, I'll tell you that much. So it was March 8th, 1951, when both Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck were electrocuted for the murders they committed together. So that was 1 year, Christine. 1 year they were in prison.
They were in prison and electrocuted within 1 year.
Yeah.
See, that was when the penal system worked, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't work anymore.
Right. Well, Sing Sing prison was notorious for its executions. Like, that was the place to go. Almost all executions within the state were carried out there until 1963. And then that's when they took the death chair, and then they moved it to Green Haven Prison. I don't know if you know where that is.
I do. And isn't that where they based the Green Mile on?
I don't know. Maybe. You know what?
So, I might have just assumed that because I was aware of Green Haven Prison. So I think when I saw the Green Mile, I just kind of assumed. So that might be an assumption on my part, because now that I'm saying that out loud, I think the Green Mile was in the South, set down in the South somewhere for some reason.
Oh, you know what? You might be right. The slave thing.
He was a slave or something.
Yep. I think you're right. I'm
not sure. So yeah. I think when I watched the Green Mile, I was thinking about Green Haven. So yes, I'm aware of it, but no, I've never been there.
Well, that's good. So that's, that ended. That was the end of it. But they caused a lot of havoc and horribleness in just the few years that they were together.
Yeah.
Just bananas.
Well, actually, from the stories, how do we know that he abandoned his wife and kids? Maybe he killed them.
Well, I guess he could have.
He could have. And then we definitely assume he killed the girl that he brought over. He went on a trip with that first girl. So we definitely assume he killed her. But then how many of the other ones that maybe he met and just quickly robbed and killed them?
Yeah, he definitely...
We only got the big marks.
Yeah, exactly. But
there might be a bounty of lower level women that he hustled and then murdered. We don't know. Well,
think about it, right? Any time, from everything that I've seen, not from my personal experience, but they start off doing little bits, like, let's just talk about a man who hits his wife, right? First it starts off, then I'm yelling at you. And then now I'm going to escalate that from yelling to hitting you. And then I'm going to escalate that from hitting you to trying to strangle you. You know what I mean? So, and it happens with all these criminals that do these horrible crimes to people. It gets worse and worse and worse. Like, I think maybe it's the adrenaline rush that they get out of it. They need more. Like, they do that for a certain amount of time. I just think, now I got to bump it up because I'm not getting that. I'm not getting what I want to feel out of it anymore.
Yeah, so maybe he just got bigger and more horrific with each time.
Yeah, because he did his fair share of swindling. He swindled a lot of women, but it was the whole wooing them, getting to the, he's just so madly in love with them, and they're all so eager to get married back in the day. It was an easy game. And
it was also crazy. Can I just rewind for a second about what a pathetic, horrible human being this woman was? Is that when they broke up for a little bit, you talked about how they weren't together for a while, and she went and lived with her sister.
Yeah, for a hot minute.
Ever asked her where her kids were? Like, how did that happen? How did that go over? And maybe that's why she didn't stay with her sister very long, because she was asking where the hell the kids were.
Right.
But maybe that's how she ended up going back to him again so quickly.
Could be, but she was also so crazy in love with him. There's also, and I watched it, it was really good, but they used, it's called Lonely Hearts. It's a movie that was done in 2006, but John Travolta is like one of the detectives in New York.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah, and gosh, what was that? What's that really? She's so beautiful. She played, I can't think of her name right now, but she played Martha. And it's like, you're a bombshell. You know what I mean? Like, that I didn't like. They did a few different things, you know what I mean? But all in all, it was still a really good movie.
Yeah, sadistic.
Yeah. So, that was a crazy one. And you know how I came upon this story is Todd and myself and Todd's mom again, same antique store. where I found the book for Catherine Wood and Gwendolyn Graham, I was like, oh my gosh, this is that same antique store. Because in the back, they have a whole room of these.
Oh, Trace, you got a creepy magical book showing up in a crazy antique store.
I know. Well, guess what? There's a whole section.
Movie.
I know there's a whole section, and it was just like I kept grabbing book after book. I grabbed 11 books. I had to stop myself. But there's a guy who comes, because like all these antique stores, people come, they bring their things, and they sell them on consignment for them, right?
Okay, with all of the things that you do, how the hell do you find time to read books?
I have to make time.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Because I have to do a show every week.
Oh my God. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know how you do it, Trey.
Well,
to learn all the freaking stories.
It's
and
crazy.
To dig into them. I mean, I guess I appreciate it because I care about all this interesting stuff and I don't have to put no effort into it. So thanks, Bestie.
You're welcome, girl. All right, so we should wrap it up. We've been on here a long time. So thanks, everyone. That was another great episode. Come back next week. Oh, no, cancel that. Come back on Wednesday for Round Robin. Bye.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for putting up with our craziness.